Do you have something that you always try to remember that you've learned on starts, like to get good starts? Because I've seen like a lot of people, I think for me growing up in a motocross background, and that is like the most high intensity start scenario, it's very scary, right? Like, very loud motors and you're bumping people going very fast and everything else. So when I'm on the line with a cross race, it feels very relaxed and calm. But I've noticed that for a lot of people, it is not that way. And it's one where if you're not okay with rubbing elbows and that sort of stuff, you can get shuffled really far back. I have a few things that I remember, but is there something that you like a checklist that you do when you're on the start, make sure you're in the right gear or anything else like that?
Yeah, absolutely. The gearing is important. You should know, you should have that practice, not just when you get to the starting line, you're figuring out what gear you're in. I pretty much start in the same gear as, my, I know because it's 4 down.
Yeah.
So it's probably like my 26.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there.
Yep.
And, obviously that can depend on what kind of incline you're on, if it's flat or a slight uphill or a slight downhill. So that could change a tad. Or
the surface too, right?
Yeah,
if you're on gravel
surface,
or asphalt.
Right. And it depends on if you have people in front of you. Mm-hmm. You can only get into your pedals so fast and go so far before hitting the person in front of you. So, and that would be my number one recommendation, is to not crash at the start. Be patient. Things will break up.
Yep.
But number 2, know what gear you're in, know which foot you want to have in the pedal.
Yep.
What foot's on the ground. So I have myself perched on my saddle, basically on the tip of my saddle with my left foot on the ground, barely touching the ground. And I basically have pressure on the pedal. So I think if you looked at a clock face, you would see my crank at, I guess that would be 2 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 2 o'clock. And I'm holding my brakes.
Same.
So, you should have power being basically applied. Like you're throttling a car, you're basically throttling your bike. And you're just preventing yourself from moving by holding your brake on.
A really smart thing about that is how you still have your weight placed on the saddle. Not entirely, but there's some there. And I see a lot of people just standing and getting ready to go. And when you do that, you don't have enough weight over that back wheel. So it's really easy to just spin out, lose traction. It makes it harder to clip in. You lose momentum. Yeah. You cause a cascade of problems behind you. You lose the people in front of you. But when you can start with a little bit of pressure on that saddle, it may even mean that you lean your bike a bit over to the side to be able to reach that ground. But it can be super helpful in getting a smoother start.
And on bikes, too, it's easier to find that in our cases, because I have right foot down, too, or right foot in. Helping that left foot find the pedal more quickly. Right. It's less of a gamble. If all your body weight's counting on finding that pedal, it's a bit of a crapshoot. But if you have most of your weight distributed between your right foot and your saddle, then finding it isn't as consequential.
Yeah, I'll practice those and just skill sessions on my own. I'll just find a sidewalk crack and just count down and just practice clipping into my pedal and turning over the pedals 3-4 pedal strokes as hard as I can, and then stopping and doing it over.
How often do you do that?
Not often enough. Maybe once a week. I'll do a skill session at a local park.
That's more often than 99% of people listening.
Yeah, you gotta. I try to put it on my schedule. It's important. I think we discount it until race day shows up and you think back, I should have done that skill.
I should work on that.
Is that the 30-minute lunch rides kind of recover? You do that inside of that?
No, I'll either go ride the ditch trail, which is a local ditch trail, or I'll go over to the park and practice skills.
Yeah.
And I try to keep them both fairly recovery based.
Yeah.
But some of the cyclocross drills and stuff are pretty intense. Throwing the bike up on your shoulder and running up a 20-meter hill climb can be not recovery-like. So sort of need to monitor, how things are feeling and if that's the right day to do it. So a lot of times the days that I'm just shot from one of the TrainerRoad workouts in the morning, I just have to go spin. Doing the skill session is probably going to be more hurtful than helpful.
Not recovery.
Yeah.
Do you prefer starting on the inside or the outside? And when I say inside or outside, I'm talking about when you line up on the start, inside would be on the inside of the first turn. In other words, like if you have a left turn coming up, that would be lining up on the left versus outside. Do you have a preference?
I like being on the outside if I have a choice.
And why is that?
I just think there can be a lot of riders vying for a small portion of real estate. I mean, if you're in the front, it's not that big a deal because you can, ride that apex of that turn probably as fast as or faster than most of the guys next to you or behind you. But odds are somebody goes out ahead of you and, if they've got the whole shot there and take the inside line and crash or, just botch the turn, I want an exit plan. So I think I'd rather be a little cautious and have a little more real estate to work with to swing out wide if I need to. It's just being a little more cautious. It's probably not the fastest line or fastest way to the first turn, but I think I'd rather hedge on not crashing, having a little bit of extra room to swing out wide. And you might be able to even carry your speed better, especially if that first turn or corner is loose.
Yeah.
They might really have to hit the brakes hard to get around it, and you might be able to carry speed a little more. So,
yeah,
I guess I like to be a little bit wider.
During that first lap, how much energy do you expend to try to get in a good position, and how much of it is waiting just till it thins out?
Yeah, I guess Nationals is a good example of that, or any of my sabbatical races. Having a good call-up is important. Usually, if you can get through the first lap or two with a group or the front group, I mean, it usually pays dividends later because usually you can figure out, the ebb and flow of the group, where the moves are going to probably be thrown and where your effort level is going to come up, where you can recover. And then you start figuring out where my strengths lie relative to these riders. Oh, I'm always riding up on these wheels and these 3 turns, or I'm always right up on the riders in front of me when I'm going up this long run up. So you sort of figuring out where your strengths are relative to the other riders around you, so you can start, kind of balancing your effort level.
Do you notice that running up hills, are you better than other people? So you have your cross-country background, and people think triathletes, I'm going to be great because I can run.
Yeah, I would think I should be, but I feel like I'm going the same speed as everybody else. I feel like that's where I should throw down a move. But I feel like these cross racers can run with their bikes just as fast as most of the runners out there.
Yeah, it's going to be a marginal gain, too. I mean, for you to go just a little bit faster running up that hill is going to take so much more energy.
Just getting in front of one person.
Yeah.
Right. That's the part that could be beneficial. And I wonder, when you run, are you totally gassed after you run? Because I am totally gassed after I do any running.
Yeah, it is not like running track
Yeah.
workouts.
It's
a lot different.
Yeah.
Just going from a motion of cycling to running is sort of awkward. And it hurts a lot more than just going for a run to me.
Yeah.
Running fast with your bike, one arm around the handlebar and frame and one arm out it's hard.
I didn't get to ask you this, but what was your mile PR?
Let's see. Well, mostly in college we run the metric mile, so we run the 1,500 meter. I think my PR was right around 350.
That's pretty fast.
Somewhere in there.
Didn't you have a really fast half time or something?
Yeah, well, no, I mean, there's a lot of fast guys out there,
Yeah.
but for me it was okay. I ran about 152, 800 meter.
Oh, I mean half marathon.
Oh, half marathon. Yeah, I ran the Biz Johnson Trail Marathon, and I set the course record, but it was hard for me. I fell apart the last 6 miles. I was on pace to run, I think, right around 2:30, and I think I ended up running 2:45. You better look up my time because I don't remember.
2:45 trail marathon. And that just gives you an idea. He's not passing people on the runs in cyclocross. That's my kind of point.
It's not the same thing.
Yeah, you're triathlete. You think you're going to just be able to beat everyone or a runner. Here's proof right here.
How do you train for running during the season? I mean, you mentioned the fact that, shouldering the bike and running, but do you just try to run steep inclines or what do you do?
When I'm out there at the park with my bike, it's throwing the bike as quickly as I can up onto my shoulders and running up that hill. Because walking up it or jogging up it, I don't think you really get the feel of what that feels like of shouldering a bike and having the crank hit you in the ass. And, excuse my language.
And what it's like to get back on the bike when you're that gassed.
Right.
Yeah.
Getting into your pedals quickly when you get back on. Making sure that you're in the right gear when you got off your bike so that when you get back on, you're not in an awkward gear then. there's a lot more that actually is part of it than just jumping on and off your bike. You know, you want to make it as seamless and as smooth as you can to try to get as much out of it. So
yeah, watching pro riders too, or even just fast riders, like, you know, fast Cat 1 riders, I jog up hills, but for me it feels maximal, and they're sprinting, right?
When we call it sprint, it's relative. I mean, we're working as hard as a sprint, but we're just not moving that quickly.
We're just not moving that fast. Exactly. But so it's really like, it's not by going out for a jog, I'm not sure how much real benefit you're getting. I mean, I'm sure you're getting some benefits, but you're really not getting a precise workout.
Not a transferable benefit.
Yeah.
It's just not the same thing. You can have tremendous endurance, be a 2:30 marathoner, and go out to a cross race, and it's just apples and oranges. It's too different.
I think you're right. I think there's a lot of cyclists that don't have running background. I don't think that hinders their
I agree. Yeah.
aptitude or athletic ability or results.
Yeah.
I just think that cycling is most of it, and practicing those cyclocross specific skills is the key part. It's not coming from a running background is going to benefit your cyclocross.
100%.
I wish it did.
Yeah.
I bet you do.
If it's a muddy course, then maybe, you know, you can, because then you just run the whole race.
That's true. That's true.
But that's about it.
If it's an unusually heavy runner's course, then the runners might have a.
Right.
Have you ever had that happen to you?
Yeah, there's been a few races over in the Sacramento that have been heavy mud, but not to the degree where, you know, I've just gone through the field and ended up at the front of the race. Still, I think the top cyclists are still in front of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you like this video, you should subscribe to our channel. Maybe even give this video a like with a thumbs up and a comment down below.
If you want to see race analysis videos, you can click on it right over here. And if you want to get your coaching questions answered, you can click on it right over here.
And if you want to become a faster cyclist, which you should go over to TrainerRoad.com. It'll make you faster. We promise. We guarantee it, right, Nate?
Guaranteed. Or your money back.
Yes, it's true, actually. We really will do that.
Yeah.